WBOC News at 6.
A day of voting and voices across Delmarva. What's at stake with some of our local races? A campaign sign controversy entangles a former Rehoboth Beach leader, what he's accused of doing, and later, a bittersweet goodbye for a longtime Delaware public servant. Senator Tom Carper reflects on his political legacy.
Covering all of Delmarva, this is WBOC News at 6, Delmarva's news leader.
Voters across the U.S. and across Delmarva shaping our democracy today. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight for the News at 6. I'm Steve Hammond. It is decision day for plenty of races from president to a slew of local matchups. There was a steady stream of voters heading into the Wicomico Youth and Civic Center this afternoon. We are still awaiting turnout numbers from Maryland and Virginia, but at last report in Delaware at 3:40 this afternoon in the first state, voter turnout was 179,000. Now compare that to 209,000 during early voting. It'll be interesting to see the turnout numbers today from all of our states. But tonight, voters in Delaware are set to elect a new governor. Marylanders are casting ballots in a high-stakes U.S. Senate race that could determine who controls the U.S. Senate. We have crews throughout Maryland and Delaware to track those key races and more. We go to WBOC's David Scott, who is live at the Angela Also Brooks Watch Party in College Park. And David, this race could make history.
That's right, Steve, both at a statewide and a national level. I'm coming to you right now from the Calvert Ballroom at the University of Maryland Hotel. In a couple hours from now, this will start becoming filled with hundreds of Angela Also Brooks supporters. And as you can see behind me, it's already attracted lots of media attention. Everybody anticipating what could be an enormous night in American politics. If Angela Also Brooks wins, she becomes the first black senator in Maryland history, male or female, and only two black females that have ever been elected to the U.S. Senate. Tonight, she and Lisa Blunt Rochester, next door in Delaware, could become numbers 3 and 4. Also, Brooks says both of those wins would be huge, not just for history, but in deciding what happens at the nation's capital, just down the road from here.
Who's in control, who has the majority in the Senate absolutely matters. Where we confirm Supreme Court justices, it will matter in terms of the next president, and we hope that's Kamala Harris, will need to have the ability to appoint cabinet officials. And so the majority controls the agenda, and it couldn't be any more different.
And if Also Brooks and Rochester both win, they also would be the first black female senators to serve at the same time. So lots of big things that could be happening here on the University of Maryland campus tonight. For now, David Scott, WBOC News, Delmarva's news leader.
All right, David, thank you. On the other side of the ballot in this race is former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. WBOC's Kyle Lorenz is live tonight in Annapolis at Hogan's watch party. Kyle, the Republican, has an uphill battle, but he's confident that he can garner enough votes in a state where he has had political success.
Steve, the last time a Republican won a Senate seat in Maryland was 1980, so Hogan is trying to stop a trend here more than 40 years in the making. The latest polls do show Also Brooks leading from anywhere to 7 to 14 points, so it is a wide disparity. But again, Hogan seems to be swimming upstream. Throughout this campaign, both candidates have touched on abortion. When we interviewed Hogan late last month, he told us he would vote to codify Roe v. Wade if elected. He's also hoping in a Democratic state like Maryland, some of the voters who stick with their party when it comes to the presidential election will be willing to jump across the aisle for the Senate race.
Right now, about 26% of the people that are voting for Harris are voting for me in this race. I just tell them I'm going to be the same strong, independent leader that I've always been, the same one that they voted for twice.
We will be here at the Graduate Hotel in Annapolis all night long, watching the polls, keeping everybody up to speed on everything going on down here in Maryland's capital. But for now, live in Annapolis, Kyle Lorenz, WBOC News, Delmarva's news leader.
We'll see how it turns out, Kyle. Thank you. We are also following Maryland's first congressional district race. Republican incumbent Andy Harris facing Democrat Blaine Miller. WBOC's Lauren Miller joins us live from Linthicum outside of Harris's watch party. Lauren, Harris is the pretty big favorite in this race.
Steve, Republican candidate Andy Harris is vying for his 8th term in this seat, and projections estimate he could be coming out on top. Now, we're here at the Westin in Linthicum Heights, which is right outside of the BWI Airport. It's where Andy Harris will be hosting his watch party tonight at 8 p.m. So before that begins, let's talk about this race. Harris has been in this seat since 2011, and since 2023, Harris has been the chairman of the Agricultural Subcommittee advocating for farmers and watermen. But Democratic candidate Blaine Miller is hoping to take that seat from Harris. While this district has been reliably Republican, Miller hopes to appeal to voters with some of his beliefs, like his support for the Second Amendment and closing the southern border.
The bottom line is that, my opponent is not taking the race seriously. He hasn't even filed with the Federal Election Commission. I mean, I don't understand how that's even possible.
He's able to stay there because he does have that 54% that it is that are Republicans. But I think that the moderate Republicans, those are the people that I'm reaching out to.
Now, a little bit about Maryland's 1st Congressional District. It is the largest district in the state of Maryland, and it encompasses the entire eastern shore of Maryland, Harford and Cecil counties, as well as parts of Baltimore County. But if you stay tuned for WBOC News at 7, we'll have more for you on those candidates. Live in Linthicum Heights, Lauren Miller, WBOC News, Delmarva's news leader.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Let's head to Wicomico County now. Voters in Wicomico deciding the future of county government today. Question A: would revise the county charter and eliminate the county executive position. If passed, both executive and legislative powers would be vested in the county council. Those in favor say it would prevent unchecked power by the executive. Opponents argue this would remove checks and balances in Wicomico County government. If passed, current county executive Julie Giordano would serve out the remainder of her term through 2026 in Wicomico County. Reproductive rights are on the ballot in Maryland. Question 1 asks voters if they would like to make abortion a constitutional right in the state of Maryland. Critics of this proposed constitutional amendment say that the question is too broad, while supporters say it is needed to protect the future of reproductive rights. Abortion is already legal in Maryland. Delawareans are selecting their next leader. John Carney termed out after leading the state for 8 years. WBOC's Todd Carley live at the Delaware Democrats' watch party in Wilmington tonight. Todd, these candidates have brought slightly different political backgrounds to this race.
Yeah, Steve, the Democrat in the race is Matt Myers. He's the Newcastle County executive. The Republican is Mike Ramone. He is the House Minority Leader in the legislature and has been in Dover since 2008. WBOC spoke with both candidates in the final days leading up to the election. And while Myers has talked about protecting Delawareans, Ramone suggests that Myers' job as county executive leaves him lacking the experience to be the governor.
Regardless of who you support, I want you to know that in the Meyer administration and in Governor Meyer, you're going to have someone that protects you, that protects fundamental freedoms, that protects women's reproductive rights.
There's never been a Newcastle County executive elected to be governor in the state of Delaware. There's no running the county. Newcastle County is fine. It's much different than running Kent County or Sussex, and it's even not much more different than running the state.
So Meyer versus Ramone for the governor's race. We'll start getting results hopefully shortly after 8 o'clock. Speaking of that, if you've not voted yet, the polls close at 8 o'clock in Delaware, so you have a couple of hours left to cast your vote. Live in Wilmington tonight, Todd Carley, WBOC, Delmarva's news leader.
All right, Todd, thank you. Other significant races in Delaware include those for U.S. House and U.S. Senate. A Democrat state senator, Sarah McBride, going up against Republican businessman John Whalen III from Millsboro for Delaware's lone congressional seat. And Lisa Blunt Rochester vacated that seat to run for the U.S. Senate. In that race, Blunt Rochester faces Republican Eric Hansen and Independent Michael Katz. The candidates vying to fill the seat of longtime Democratic Senator Tom Carper. We spent some time with the retiring senator today. We'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes. We'll also have more on the battle to take his place in the Senate. That's coming up on the news at 7. Moving on, a political figure in Rehoboth Beach has been arrested for allegedly stealing campaign signs. The signs had been repeatedly stolen from Republican Mike Simpler, a candidate for the 14th Delaware House District. As WBOC's Jack Ford tells us, Simpler was shocked to find out who police picked up.
According to Rehoboth Beach Police, Richard Byrne was arrested for 2 counts of theft under $1,500 and 2 counts of criminal mischief under $1,000. Burns has deep ties to politics in Rehoboth Beach. He served as city commissioner from 2018 to 2021. He could be found under committee members for the 14th District Democrats. And according to their website, he also serves as the president of Rehoboth Beach Main Street. The candidate whose signs were stolen, Mike Simpler, tells us he kept finding the signs ripped up and stolen, specifically here on State Street.
We reached out to Rehoboth Police Department and told them that of what was going on, and they agreed to come out and put a camera up and look to see what was going on and investigate it. And unfortunately, they found the person that was doing it.
We reached out to Byrne multiple times for comment. He did not respond. Rehoboth Beach Main Street says they have no comment at this time. Simpler says he was disappointed to find out it was someone so heavily involved in local politics.
Is someone that should know better. They've been a public figure. They've been in the political realm before. They've run campaigns. They've worked on campaigns. And they're also heavily involved in the community, which I hope it doesn't come back to be detrimental to the groups that he works with.
A political twist in the case of missing campaign signs. In Rehoboth Beach, Jack Ford, WBOC News, Delmarva's news leader.
And according to police, Byrne has been released on his own recognizance. All 4 of the charges he faces are misdemeanors there in Rehoboth Beach. Well, there will be a new way to watch local election results tonight. WBOC's Hunter Landon joins us from our Stream Center with how you can join the coverage.
Steve, this is where we'll bring our viewers live streaming election results. I like to think of it as a companion to what you'll be doing tonight. Viewers can watch on TV, and then for even more election coverage, grab your phone or tablet or laptop and jump on the WBOC News app, WBOC.com, or our Facebook page. We'll be following the big races, but we'll also have more time to go in depth on some of the smaller local races that still have a big impact. And if you have questions or comments during the stream, drop them right in the comments, and we'll be sure to make this a true two-way conversation. Our streaming coverage begins online around 8 o'clock. Steve?
All right, looking forward to it. Hunter Landon, we'll all be busy tonight. BOC has you covered, as always, with comprehensive coverage of Election Night 2024. Real-time results of all the races on our news app and on WBOC.com, plus the updates right here on WBOC TV and social media throughout the night.
Watching WBOC News at 6 with Steve Hammond, meteorologist John Conway, and Chopper 16.
48 years in public office and decades of election days under his belt. These are photos detailing those years of service from Delaware U.S. Senator Tom Carper. Today marks the first election day since 1976 that Tom Carper hasn't been on a ballot. WBOC's Megan Summers is in the Newsplex tonight. Megan, Carper today shared with us some of his Election Day reflections.
Steve, on his final election day in office, the senator visited polling places across Delaware, connecting with the community he served and looking back on his nearly 50-year political career.
Treasurer, congressman, governor, senator, all roles held by Delaware's senior senator Tom Carper. As he traveled across the state today, he says there was always a warm welcome.
People could not have been kinder and more thoughtful, thanking me for my service. If I'd known people were going to be this warm and friendly, I might have quit sooner. Not really. Not really.
After decades in public service, Carper says the day is bittersweet, but not running for re-election is a bit of a relief.
My wife and I, we decided to announce about 6 months ago that I wasn't going to run for re-election. And about every other day she turns to me and she says, "Aren't you glad you're not running for anything?" And I say, well, you know, I am glad.
Carper isn't the only long-standing Delaware politician marking the end of his career this election. He and President Biden spent years working in office together.
I'm going to give him a call in a couple of days and see what if he wants to have breakfast. And we'll compare notes. We'll talk about how he convinced me to run for not for state treasurer, but for Congress a long time ago, and how much we've gotten done by working together.
As ballots are counted tonight and races come in, the senator says he's proud to pass the torch to a new generation of Delaware leadership.
The senator says once his retirement starts, he hopes to travel the country visiting national parks with his family. He also stressed the importance of voting, asking Delawareans to get out to those polls by 8 p.m. Steve?
And good evening once again, everybody. Thanks for joining us here for our continuing election night coverage. I'm Steve Hammond in the Newsplex. The vote counting is well underway. Polls in Maryland and Delaware closed about 25 minutes ago. We have our first winner of the night from Delaware. The Associated Press has called Delaware's U.S. Senate race. Lisa Blunt Rochester will be replacing Tom Carper in the Senate, a seat that will remain in the hands of Democrats. Not a big surprise here. Blunt Rochester has served in the U.S. House since 2017. She now moves over to the Senate chamber with a win over Republican Eric Hansen and independent Michael Katz. The celebration well underway in Wilmington at the Democratic Watch Party. Let's check in now with WBOC's Todd Carley.
Yeah, Steve, certainly no surprise. Lisa Blunt Rochester has been the heir apparent to this seat ever since she became the congresswoman from Delaware 8 years ago. And of course, Senator Tom Carper retiring this year after decades in public service from Delaware. And now it is Blunt Rochester's chance to take that Senate seat with her commanding victory here tonight. We are inside the Chase Center. There's a little interesting twist going on tonight. Blunt Rochester's not here. She's having her own party down the street about half a mile from here, which we were at about an hour ago. And I'm not even sure they've announced her victory here tonight yet at the Chase Center. They've got a gentleman on stage right now trying to fire some people up as the results come in. Now, we do expect her here later tonight, but as I mentioned, she's not here right now. So no big celebration here yet at the Chase Center with the announcement that Blunt Rochester will be the new U.S. Senator from Delaware. She'll get here tonight at some point, not sure when, but she will make her initial remarks at her own party and then come here a bit later to join everybody else. So our first result is in. Steve, as you mentioned, no surprise, Lisa Blunt Rochester, the new U.S. Senator from Delaware. We'll check back in a little bit, see if she shows up at some point and talk to some other folks as well. Steve?
Delaware has elected a new governor. The AP calling the race earlier tonight for Democrat Matt Meyer, the Newcastle County executive, beating out Mike Ramone, the House Minority Leader from Newark. And Meyer will replace term-limited John Carney. The AP has also called the race for Delaware's U.S. Senate seat. Lisa Blunt Rochester will be replacing longtime Senator Tom Carper in Washington, a seat that does remain in the hands of Democrats. Not a big surprise here. Blunt Rochester served in the House since 2017. She now moves over to the Senate with a win over Republican Eric Hansen and independent Michael Katz. A lot for Democrats to celebrate tonight in Wilmington. And WBOC's Todd Carley is at that Democratic watch party. Hey, Todd.
Well, on the stage behind me, Delaware's newest senator, Lisa Blunt Rochester, Democrat, putting a capper on what has been a very festive night here at the Chase Center in Wilmington. As expected, all the Democrats winning in the prominent positions here in Delaware tonight. And Blunt Rochester, if you've not mentioned it before yet, Steve, will make history, of course, as the first woman senator from Delaware and also the first black senator from Delaware. So she's riling up what's left of the crowd here tonight as they are very excited that all their candidates have won here in Delaware. We're live in Wilmington tonight. Todd Carley, WBOC, Delmarva's news leader.
And good evening once again, everybody. Thanks for staying with us here on Election Night 2024. I'm Steve Hammond. Results are slowly trickling in for Maryland, but boy, it is slow going in Maryland. We are keeping a very close eye on Maryland's U.S. Senate race. Just 1% of the vote has been counted. Not even worth bringing the numbers up. Larry Hogan versus Angela Also Brooks. But let's check in now with WBOC's Kyle Lawrence, who joins us live from Larry Hogan's watch party in Annapolis.
At about 9 o'clock, Steve, we checked, and Hogan at that point had captured about 75% of the votes. That was when only about 19,000 total votes were counted. Well, in the past 20 to 30 minutes, a lot more votes have come in, and Also Brooks has taken the lead. The last I checked, about 30 seconds ago to a minute ago, she had 56% of the vote. Despite that, though, the energy in this building is still pretty high. You can take a look behind me. A lot of people in this room hanging on to the presidential election. But again, no word from Hogan's campaign. The numbers I shared, those were ours, and still no sign of the former governor. Steve, back to you.
History has been made. Angela Denise Also Brooks has become the first black senator elected in Maryland and just the fourth black female elected U.S. Senate in the entire history of the U.S. Before tonight, that number was just 2. Now we add her name and that of Lisa Blunt Rochester. right next door in Delaware. The highlight of the night, of course, is when Angela took the stage after she finally was declared the winner. That took a while because we're told that a lot of people, especially college students, were still in line long after the polls closed. Angela thanked a long list of people who have worked so hard on this campaign. She says she's ready to go to work for all of Maryland and ready to bring the U.S. Congress together to work as one. So for now, the party is going to continue, and we will see where things go from here tonight. But they are very happy because history has been made for Maryland. Back to you, Steve.
All right, David Scott, thank you. Meantime, on the other side, we have Republican Larry Hogan. WBOC's Kyle Lawrence live tonight in Annapolis at the Hogan Watch Party. Probably some long faces there. Kyle, good evening to you again.
Steve, when former Governor Hogan came out to concede this race, some of the first words out of his mouth were congratulating Angela Alsobrooks on her victory. He said he had spoken with Alsobrooks just moments before coming on stage here at the Graduate Hotel. After that, he went on to thank the people who showed up here to support him and his campaign staff. About his campaign, Hogan called it a 9-month sprint, said it was a truly grassroots effort where they were able to bring together people from all walks of life, from teachers to longshoremen and everybody in between. He also touched on the current state of the country, saying he knows people feel it is divided to a point where we can't come back. He says that's not the case and that now, more than ever, is a time for us to come together. He wrapped up his speech by saying this obviously was not the outcome they were hoping for, but he did leave a message to his supporters.
You should never apologize for standing up for decency and common sense. Never give in to fear or cynicism, and never, ever give up on the work of changing Maryland and America for the better. Thank you. God bless you all. And may God bless the great state of Maryland and the United States of America.
You just heard Hogan touch on the future of Maryland and the United States, but he didn't definitively say anything about his future as a politician here in Maryland. We're going to have to wait and see for that one. Live from Annapolis, Kyle Lawrence, WBOC News, Delmarva's news leader.
Long, tough fight, Kyle, for Larry Hogan. Thank you for that. A lot of money put into that race from Republicans across the country. Not enough to tip the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. Democrats hang on to that seat in Maryland. All right, let's move to Delaware now in the Senate there. The Associated Press calling this race early tonight. Lisa Blunt Rochester will be replacing longtime U.S. Senator Tom Carper. Carper has held that seat for 24 years. Tip of the hat to him. He has been in office for 48 years. And Lisa Blunt Rochester hangs on easily with a win over Republican Eric Hansen and Independent Michael Katz. WBOC's Todd Carley live at the Delaware Democratic Watch Party in Wilmington. So let's check in one more time with Todd.
Yeah, Steve, the party's wrapped up here at the Chase Center tonight at the Democratic viewing party, if you will, here in Wilmington. All 4 speakers, all 4 new members who are elected tonight from Delaware all got up and spoke tonight to a very enthusiastic crowd, the last of which was the new U.S. Senator, Lisa Blunt Rochester. She, of course, moved from the House of Representatives and now to the U.S. Senate, replacing the retiring Tom Carper. You may or may not have mentioned, of course, she is going to make history as the first woman and black senator from the state of Delaware. And throughout much of her campaign and really much of her career, she talks about hope and a vision and focusing on the voters. And that is what she focused on tonight in her remarks. Take a listen.
This campaign has been about your hopes, your dreams, your fears, and your aspirations. And my time in the Senate will always, always also be about you.
And as expected, Democrats rather sweeping the top races here in the first state tonight. A new governor, a new lieutenant governor, a new U.S. senator, and a new member of the House of Representatives. So a clean sweep as expected here tonight, and a very festive atmosphere, as you can imagine, with Democrats winning all those races here at the Democratic Party. Live tonight in Wilmington, Todd Carley, WBOC, Delmarva's news leader.
All right, Todd, yeah, no real surprises at the top of the ticket in Delaware. Thank you very much. In Maryland, U.S. Congressman Andy Harris is going back to serve another term, an 8th term, in fact. This is the 1st Congressional District, which includes all of the Eastern Shore plus Harford, Cecil, and part of Baltimore counties. Harris going back to Washington to serve his 8th term with a win over Blaine Miller tonight, the Navy veteran from Harford County. Originally, Harris said he was committed to only 6 terms. With this win making it his 8th, we asked him tonight why he's decided to continue and hold this seat.
4 years ago, I got chosen to be one of the leaders on the Agriculture Appropriations Subcommittee. And obviously, if I give up the House, whoever gets elected is not going to have that position. That's an incredibly important position for the 1st Congressional District.
Yep, agriculture important indeed. Andy Harris with an easy win tonight over Blaine Miller in the 1st Congressional District race.